Good morning, good evening, whatever time it is. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to Star Citizen. Today I wanted to make a list of my top 5 ships, top 5 must-own ships, or just top 5 best ships, I guess you could say, in my opinion, for a variety of reasons we'll get into, going into patch 3.18. 3.18 is just around the corner. It's coming very soon. With it are some changes and a reset. So this is a list of ships I think are super strong, affordable in most cases, or just excel at their role in some way, shape, or form. This video is aimed towards new players, as most of my videos will be. So if you're not new here, or if you're not new to the game, you might not get as much from this video, but I encourage you to watch nonetheless. So without further ado, let's get into it. So coming up first, we have a pick that I don't think will surprise anyone. If you guys watched my video the other day about ship packages, this was the recommended starter ship that I said most players should purchase, and that's the Avenger Titan. The Avenger Titan is kind of the jack of all trades little space shuttle ship. It kind of looks like modern spaceships. It has this little NASA-y feel, space shuttle feel. Pan around the ship a bit, you'll be able to see all the weapons. There's a Gatling gun on there, there's 2 laser repeaters, 4 missiles, and once again, it kind of invokes this modern shuttle design. I love the silhouette of this thing. It's arched, it's curvy in its own way, and it's very smooth. I think that helps the aerodynamics a lot, and it also reminds me of a modern fighter jet, which I think really helps its case quite a bit. As we approach the ramp, you'll be able to see how you get inside of the ship. There is a little cargo hold where, unfortunately, I couldn't find any weapons racks or anything. I could have swore there was something in here to store weapons or like a suit, but I just couldn't find it. Moving past that, we have the little sleeping quarters. There's no tables or anything, but you do have a bed so you can log out. And just beyond that would be the actual cockpit, I suppose you can call it, where you sit and obviously you operate the ship. Getting into the technical specs as we take this thing out for a quick little spin, it has 8 SCU of cargo, allowing you to just dabble in cargo running and cargo holding. You can do box missions, you can store friends back there. You can also store a buggy or a Drake Dragonfly in the back of the ship, one or the other quite comfortably. You could also do cargo or people, like I said. Kind of flying out here, you will notice the acceleration of this thing is rather fast, and I would like you guys to appreciate its beautiful little silhouette. Kind of going a bit more on the tech specs here, the max speed of this thing is 1,115 meters per second, and the weapons break down to be 1 Gatling gun of the size 3, which is a Mantis GT220, 2 size 2 CF227 Badger laser repeaters, and 4 size 2 Ignite 2 missiles, which sit on racks that hang outside of the ship. So yeah, that's kind of it for this vessel. Why I think this is a great ship for 318 is if you're a new player, this will be the ship that kind of allows you to do some bounty hunting. You can do delivery missions. You can kind of get around in this nimble little fighter here and carry some cargo. It will really just kind of get you all you need to get started. It's very similar to the Cutter and its capabilities, but I do like this ship a bit more now that I've flown it around. Compared to the Cutter, it just handles better. I think it's a lot smoother, and also I love the silhouette of the ship. I love the look of the ship. I'm addicted to this little thing, and I think it's awesome. So if you're going into the game starting at 318, or you're about to buy in the game now, all your progress will be reset for 318, besides for what you keep with real money. So I do recommend that you get this Avenger Titan, I was going to say Stalker, which is a different version of the ship, but the Avenger Titan starter pack, because I think that'll be a great start once we had that reset, if this is the only ship you're going to own at the time. Next up is a ship I don't think will surprise anybody, and that's the Mist Prospector. This little mining ship is actually the only mining ship we have in the game besides for the Argo Mole, which is much more centered around crew gameplay. The Prospector has 1 laser that can be controlled from the pilot seat, giving it that advantage over the Mole, whereas the Mole has a bigger frame, and it's also can carry more, has more lasers. You cannot control that from the pilot seat, so that's much more crew air oriented, whereas the Prospector is just this kind of one-off freelancer ship. Handles quite well and also has some guns on it. Guys will notice it has these little packs where the SCU of minables are stored, and in the future those are supposed to be detachable, and you can drop those off at refining ships, take an empty one, and then go continue to mine while your goods are being refined. Stepping inside of the ship here, you will notice the interior is really small, and I think that's because the justification of that would be that a lot of the technicals take up a lot of space, but you will notice you have a bed as well as a toilet and a shower, just in this little area here. So it kind of has all you could ever need in that regard. The Prospector has been a super important ship since it came out, I think 3.0 maybe it was like 3.1, because the mining gameplay loop is currently one of the most reliable ways to make money, especially if you've watched guides on it, or if you kind of know what you're doing, or where to look for minerals and how to mine quant and all that kind of stuff, which there are just extensive guides on YouTube already, so I'm not going to touch on here, but this is just a ship that I believe cost, I think it's like 2.016 million UEC, something like that. It's just over 2 million, might be 2.1 million, and this ship will pay for itself relatively quickly. So I recommend this ship going into 3.18 for anyone who, once again, might not have a lot of cash ships. And once you start earning a bit of money with your ship you do own from your game package, this is a great way to propel yourself further into making more cash over time. I've seen people make hundreds of thousands of credits per hour with this thing, and it ultimately just fuels you to make more money and eventually be able to buy more ships or kind of do whatever you want in the verse. In terms of technical specs, it has a max speed of 1210 meters per second, has one size 2 mining laser and two size 1 DR model XJI laser repeaters, but I think that's inaccurate. Based on the game here, it appears that there's some sort of the Bulldog variation, and the ship matrix is just outdated. I don't think I've kitted out my Prospector, so I believe the Bulldogs are the ones that come kitted with this thing. It also has 32 SCU of mineable storage, but it's important to know that you cannot use that for a normal cargo capacity. Anyways, that's kind of why I recommend this ship. I think this is one you should buy in-game for sure, and this will just kind of propel you to financial freedom and other ships within Star Citizen, especially with the wipe coming up in 3.18. All right, next up, here's a ship that I don't think will surprise anyone else either, and that would be the Drake Cutlass Black. This is my recommended daily driver for people and the all-around jack-of-all-trades ship that is just a bit bigger than the Avenger Titan and quite a bit of a step up. I think it's also great for people who are playing with 2 or 3. Your third person might get a little bit bored. There's just not that much for them to do right now, but there is an overhead turret, at least for a second person. So for sure, if you have 2 people, I think this would be a great option. In addition to its versatility, it's also a bit larger, meaning you have 46 SCU of cargo capacity and a pretty big cargo hold to store a few different vehicles for you to be able to go mining or hold various things that you can, I guess, race around your little dragonflies or whatever you want to do. There's plenty of space here. As you can just see, there's just a pretty big cargo hold. The doors on the sides are also completely functional, and that will allow you to use this as a dropship if you would like. The Cutlass steals the specialized version of this ship that is designed to be a dropship, has a bit more armor, but people use this ship all the time. There's been a few like stage ground battles from YouTubers or just various events that people within the community have organized, and you can see Cutlass Blacks flying in there to drop off squads of people. Coming into the little cockpit area, you will see there is a place to put items with the ship inventory, as well as a weapon rack, 2 beds, and the turret control. In addition to all that, this thing also is pretty well armed. It has 2 size 2 CF 227 Badger laser repeaters, 2 size 3 Scorpion GT 215 Gatling guns, 16 total missiles, 8 Arister 3s, 8 Tempest 2s, and those are all size 2, and has a max speed of 1,115 meters per second. I keep bringing up the wipe, but I think it's super important here. After the wipe, I think the Cutlass Black is a great ship to get into if you are starting with a lower game package such as the Avenger. You like that kind of gameplay loop of being able to do many things, you want to expand that a bit, and maybe you also have a buddy. This is a great ship for just a few million credits that will allow you to do everything that you can do with your Avenger Titan, but more so, this is also a great ship if you have a bit more of a higher budget that you can just go ahead and put a bit more money into the game. If you're new to the game, you can just toss this into a starter package versus the Avenger Titan, and I think that'd be an excellent great ship to start in 3.18 as well. The only thing it can't really do is mine, so aside from that, it has everything you could ever need. Some combat capabilities, you can do cargo missions or cargo runs, you could do deliveries, and you could do some PvP and drop shipping, not drop shipping, sorry, well, I guess drop shipping, but different kind. It also just looks super badass in my opinion, and I love the VTOL capabilities, making vertical takeoff really fast, kind of again aiding in that dropship capability. But yeah, all this kind of combines into a really awesome ship that has been a fan favorite for years now. The Drake Cutlass is just amazing. The entire series is pretty great, but the Cutlass Black is just the all-around vessel that I would recommend people to start if you have a bit more of a budget than the intro starter package. I think it's like 110, 115. But if you don't, I recommend this as one of your ships that you get first in the game. I would still say take a Prospector over this if you were buying the shipping game, because the Prospector, you can make more money mining. But if you would like a great daily driver, I think this would be your ship for you. And I think this is one of the first ships you should go for, either off the bat with your game package, or if you're a brand new player and you don't have that much money, this should be one of the ships you go for once you get in and have a bit of cash. Next to the ship, I'm going to have a difficult time justifying on this list, but it is something I would still say I recommend for players who are a bit deeper into the game, a bit more than surface level, because the ship is a bit expensive, and most players do not own the cash version. Most players do not own the starter pack because it doesn't exist. But anyways, I digress. I will fight for this ship's position on this list because I think it has a distinct reason for being here. And we are obviously talking about the Aegis Eclipse. The bomber that is the, I suppose you could say, competitor to the Retaliator in some ways, only in its bombing capabilities currently, because obviously the Retaliator has its modules. But right now, the Aegis Eclipse and the Retaliator both have large missiles. I actually believe they are the largest missiles that could be called missiles before they turn into torpedoes. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the Perseus would be the lowest level torpedo, and then the Aegis Eclipse and then the Retaliator have the largest missiles that count as missiles. I might be mistaken, but I'm pretty sure that's correct. Regardless, this thing absolutely destroys higher end bounty missions, especially the PvE ones. Obviously, PvP, people might just outrun these or deploy flare, but you can get in on one shot most bounties immediately, and if you do that relatively effectively, you can get 3 of them done without needing to go in and refuel, or I'm sorry, not refuel, rearm, and you can do that really quickly, making this an ideal farming ship. People use this all the time to just go in, blast a hammerhead a few times and dip, and then, there's an easy lump of credits for all of 45 seconds of work as you fly in there, target lock, drop some missiles, and get the hell out. Beyond that, this thing is badass to all hell. It looks amazing. It looks just like a stealth bomber in real life, but I suppose the looks don't really justify your position on this list. Going into this, my entire goal with making this list was for new players or players who might not have all the money in the world to buy outside ships, so it was supposed to be a list of things you can get in game. And I think the Eclipse, once you start making a bit of money, is one ship that I would recommend to make your bounty hunting that much easier. You can just literally drop one of these massive missiles and get out. You guys are going to see here in a second just how big these missiles are, and the animations opening the missile bay. It's super cool, and they're absolutely huge. It's no wonder they just destroy things. Those missiles are massive, much bigger than a player for sure. Specifically, actually, I do have the tech specs here. They are size 9, and it's ridiculous. They're size 9 missiles. And this thing also has 2 CF Badgers on it. So you do have those combat capabilities as well, but no one's going to be using the laser repeaters on this thing. It's not meant for dogfighting at all. It's meant to approach from ridiculously high heights, lock on, shoot your giant missiles, and get the hell out. And in that way, I could not recommend this more for the upcoming patch once you can afford it, because it will make your bounty hunting that much easier. If you're grinding credits with bounty hunting using any of the other ships I recommended in this video, such as the Avenger Titan or the Drake Cutlass, I think this will make them so much easier. It's also rather nimble and just kind of fun to fly around on top of all that. It's a bit expensive, so I understand. I guarantee there'll be some comments in this video telling me that this was a bad pick, or maybe all my other picks were good besides for this one. But I disagree. I think if you can one-shot most bounties, and instead of spending 2 or 3 minutes on them, when bounties only take 2 or 3 minutes to begin with, and now you can get it down to a few seconds, I think that amount of time saved, even accounting for the rearming, because a lot of the times you're staying only in a local planetary system, so stations are everywhere. Get in, rearm, get out, can be super fast. Sometimes they're above points of interest that might be able to resupply you as well. So it's very easy to just operate this thing, shoot some missiles, get out, especially on the higher end bounties that pay a lot. So I couldn't recommend this thing more, especially if you're out grinding. This would be a mid-tier ship once you're to the game, maybe like a month or 2 in, purchase this thing. I couldn't recommend it more. So yeah, that's my justification for this thing. Last, we have the big kahuna herself, the Aegis Reclaimer, the absolute daddy of ships. This thing is fucking massive. I understand there are longer ships in the game. I believe the Carrack cuts it close, and I know the jump is bigger, but this thing in terms of sheer mass and absolute volume is just beyond me. It is huge. I mean, looking around it, panning around it is going to take me minutes. And unlike the jump, it just seems to encompass a much bigger space. I can't really describe it. It's just like unfathomably large compared to a person. It's like a moving structure. That's how large this thing is and how unnatural it looks. It's just an industrial behemoth. But it is a salvage ship, which is coming into 3.18, the next fully developed gameplay loop. This thing has a absolute massive cargo hold, for salvage that is, of 180 SCU, and it also has a cargo hold where your salvage will stay in addition to your normal cargo. It also has drones, which are not currently functional in the game at all, but in the future it will have these drones. It is also said to have advanced sensors, and combined with these drones you should be able to find salvage and derelict ships much easier. Currently in the game, this thing doesn't do anything at the time of recording, but 3.18 is just around the corner. Wave 1 is supposed to hit next Monday, so tomorrow or today, depending on when you guys see this. We'll see if that's true, but it's absolutely massive. I had actually purchased in-game, I didn't pay real money for it, but I had purchased this ship for the purposes of this video, and I tried to do a quick walkthrough. Eventually realized that the ship was so large that you would need to watch, and I'm sure there are Aegis Reclaimer tours out there that are much better than my quick little thing here. But enough about that. Why do I recommend this for 3.18? It's expensive, it's huge, it's ungodly, no new player can afford this. But the reason I recommend this for 3.18 is because salvage is coming. And if you have a group of friends, or you have a small org, or you and your friends are getting into the game just now, this is a ship that you guys can all save for, transfer the credits to one person who you trust, obviously, and have them purchase a ship in-game for all of you guys to crew. It has an ungodly amount of turrets, I believe 12 or 10. I think it's 10. The ship matrix and the Star Citizen tools both have conflicting information on this, so it's really unclear as to what the ship is armed with. But from what I could gather, it appears to be 4 size 5 Galdrin repeaters and then 6 size 3 Panther repeaters. I believe the smaller turrets are the remote ones, and then the bigger ones are the manned ones, from my understanding. But it has a lot of firepower for being a ship that is completely utility based. Basically, it is a walking garbage heap, and that's all it's supposed to be. So with salvage coming up in 3.18, this is a great way to make money. Salvage is said to be rather profitable. There is supposed to be derelict ships, and you can also crash people's ships or blow them up or soft kill them and then salvage them. This thing has a giant grappling arm. I'm not quite sure how that will work in 3.18 or if it will at all, but we do know that the, I guess you can call it salvage beam itself, or salvage tool on the ship, will function. That will allow you to suck up salvage per se. It's weird. It kind of like deconstructs in real time into your salvage hold, which is separate from your cargo hold. And then there's also like weird refining portions of the ship. I'm not sure if you need to refine salvage. The gameplay loop isn't completely out yet, and it hasn't even hit P1 or Wave 1. So, we were not completely sure how that will work, but we do know that salvage is completely coming in 3.18, and it has been in the hands of Evacardi and backend testers for quite some time. So once we have the nitty-gritty details of that, I will certainly make a video of the ship in more detail, but this thing is absolutely huge and a great way for your org to specialize in 3.18. This is going to be a must-have ship for a lot of players. If you have a little pirate org and you guys have like 12 players on a server, you can have 4 people in 2 separate cuddies, and then 8 people in this thing, someone manning all the turrets, someone driving, and I guess a few people sitting around. So maybe you need a third ship, but even if you have 8 to 10 people, you can get a little pirate raiding party, go soft kill players, salvage everything they have, and then go on to the next one. It's this giant hulking behemoth of a thing. I know we're kind of going through the tour here, but I'm going to skip, at least for your guys' view, to the part where I try to get out of atmosphere on this thing. I didn't notice that, like, ship mass to me is so irrelevant, right? Because even ships like the Carrack, you can just like fly out of atmosphere so easily. And yet this thing, you need to use the VTOL. And I realized that almost immediately, and I just refused. So I made it a mission to try to get out of atmosphere using these things backward facing engines, and it was just an absolute nightmare. It took me 15 minutes, which is absolutely ridiculous. Obviously, if you VTOL, you can go much higher, much faster, and then switch over to the backwards facing engines and then propel yourself using the overthrust or whatever, the overclock, whatever it's called, the thrust boosters, I suppose. The you know what I'm talking about, though. Yeah, I know what I'm talking about. But regardless, this thing is absolutely huge, only rivaled in size currently in the game by the Jump, which is, I believe, a little bit longer, but I think in terms of overall volume, especially in terms of usable volume, the Jump is nothing but prettiness right now, and it's rather thin when you think about it. There's like a bottom deck that's currently completely unusable because it's supposed to belong to crew who's permanently living on the ship. That doesn't exist. So the ship is almost all full utility, and it's huge. Regardless, I think this is an amazing ship for 3.18. It is very expensive in game. I believe it's like 16 million credits or something like that. No, that's the Carrack. It might be 13 million credits. It's really expensive, but point being, this is not a ship that you would buy alone. This is something that a small org would get, or this is something that you and your friends would get to continue your gameplay adventures into 3.18. So With that being said, guys, that's going to wrap up my list. All of these are my personal opinion. I'm sure some of you will fight me in the comments, tell me I'm completely wrong, but this is my list for people who are getting into the game, or people who don't know much about the game, or people who are just completely lost because they've been playing for months and own so many ships that they don't even know how to start over. So with that being said, this is my list. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you found it useful. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe. We did make a Discord. I don't think anyone's in it. I didn't expect anyone to be in it yet, but I would like to grow that over time. So if you are looking for a Star Citizen community, please join the Discord, and hopefully we can get something going. I would love to start an org and maybe get our own reclaimer and go on some pirate missions. It sounds super awesome. So have a great night, guys. Great day, great evening, whatever time it is for you, and I will see you in the verse.